Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button. And please do follow me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. I know I shouldn't point. I know it's rude. It's just a habit. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of the DC Daily. And you are cordially invited to the Amazon Olympic Games on October the 2nd. Yes, as you know, yesterday some pictures were posted of the Amazon Olympic Games in Wonder Woman 1984. And I can reveal to you, because if you remember, many months ago, I did see a 90-minute test screening of Wonder Woman 1984. And one of the things we were allowed to see, and we didn't see very much of any consequence, to be fair to you, but we were allowed to see the Amazon Games. Now, this is a flashback moment of young Diana taking part in the Amazonian Olympic Games. And so it's not Gal Gadot in this flashback. It's young Lily Aspel, who is a really brilliant young actor. She was the first version of Diana we saw in the first Wonder Woman movie. She done such a great job. She gave you that emotional link to the character. Such a good child actor. So good. So brilliant. So excited when I first saw this flashback and I noticed that Lily was back. Her parents are great. She's well looked after. She's held in high regard by Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, which is great. And they really looked after her on both productions, which I'm really proud of when you think of the accusations being aimed at Joss Whedon at the moment. And so I want to talk about the Amazon Olympic Games a little bit with you in this first part of today's DC Daily. And because, as I say, I have seen this sequence, and it's as stunning and as brave as No Man's Land. And you're thinking, Mick, how can it be? And No Man's Land is in the middle of a war zone. It's really dramatic, and the way that sequence in the movie is directed, we've never seen anything like it in a comic book movie before, and you're absolutely spot on. That sequence should have won an Oscar of its own, but of course DC don't get recognised for the great things they do in their movies and TV shows. Let's look at Smallville. How many Emmys did Smallville win? One of the greatest comic book TV shows ever made, if not the greatest, and one of the greatest live-action depictions of Superman, and it's never recognised, and that's a shame. But DC is, I don't know, hated for some reason by these people, by these people who, you know, give out awards and credit. But it doesn't matter, right? Let's get back to the point I was talking about. The point I'm making is that this is a really stunning flashback sequence. So you would imagine the Olympic Games wasn't very emotional or dramatic, but there is some drama here, and there is some emotion here to see Diana as a child, being a child. One of the tragedies of life these days is that kids are not kids anymore. They become adults too quickly, and mainly because of parents and the way they bring them up. When I was a kid, right? I'm not embarrassed to say this. I probably believed in Santa till I was in secondary school, which you're going to mock me for, but I'm glad that I did. And the only reason I stopped believing in him is because I saw the Santa suit in the passenger seat of my dad's car. So, you know, childhood is very, very important. And when kids are robbed of it, you rob them of their humanity in a lot of ways. So it's interesting to see young Diana. Of course, this continues on from the flashbacks in the first Wonder Woman. Yes, very, very cleverly. This is not pre the first Wonder Woman. And, you know, it's kind of interesting to me when Patty and Gal and everybody else say, this doesn't feel like a sequel. It is a sequel, but you're not explaining it properly. It's its own entity, and that's fine. You shouldn't just be riding the coattails of the first film just because it was successful. And I agree with that. But this is a damn sequel from what I've seen of the film. Only 90 minutes, but it was enough to tell me. And it's a great sequel, by the way. And so these Amazon Olympics do continue kind of after the flashbacks with Lily Aspel we see in the first Wonder Woman movie. So, you know, she's still kind of doing stuff, you know, behind her mother's back and stuff like that. She still wants to train. She still wants to be a warrior. But of course, it's not the older version of young Diana we see. This is actually Lily, young Lily. And that makes me happy as well because she done such a great job in the first Wonder Woman film. and she wants to take part in these games. And as I say, I don't want to go into it, but it is about, you know, the Queen protecting her daughter and not wanting her to be out there, not to be in full view. I suppose it's a lot similar to Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel. You know, she's overprotective of her daughter because she knows her destiny. It's very, very difficult for Diana's mother because, A, she wants to protect her daughter, but she also knows her daughter is the only chance that they have of survival. So you've got this woman who's a mother who first and foremost absolutely loves and adores her daughter, but she also wants to protect her. And you see this in this flashback as well. It's not a quick flashback. That they spend some time there, which I think is great. And as I say, a really, really good sequence that you're going to get a lot of emotional, you know, emotional credence from. You're really going to enjoy it. You're really going to like the fact that they do it. And just seeing the kind of games the Amazons played in their Olympics is really cool as well. Again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it really is, and it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. It is directed in a beautiful way. How Patty Jenkins, really, I think that Wonder Woman, the first one, was her first or second or third theatrical features, which is amazing to me. It's totally shocking. This is one of the great directors. She is amazing. There is no question about that. And so you're going to want to see Wonder Woman 84 just for this sequence. It's very, very special. And it does set foundations to what's going on with Diana in 1984. And I think you're going to be surprised what 84 actually is and what it means, because there is some meaning there. But again, I don't want to spoil the film for you. It's a great film. Yes, it's colourful. It's inspirational. There is a lot more humour in this film, but it is dramatic. It is emotional, and there's nothing wrong with bright colour palettes, like there's nothing wrong with dark colour palettes. Every director at DC Film now gets to show what they want to show, and that's right, and that's proper. And there's something, excuse me, there's something for everyone. And that's what really excites me about everyone seeing this movie. But seeing I've only seen 90 minutes of it, I haven't really seen this movie either, have I? So it's the same for everyone. And I can't wait to see another trailer for this film at, I was going to say San Diego. That would be an achievement as well. By the way, changing the subject slightly to the MCU, apparently they're not going to turn up at the Stay-at-Home Comic-Con. Now, this is interesting. Now, wouldn't it be just like Feige to launch an MCU fandom on the same day, August the 22nd, as the DC fandom? And this is the man who admitted he was so intimidated by Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Surprise, surprise, they made Captain America: Civil War, which was an absolute mainstream ripoff of Batman vs. Superman. But how did they know what Snyder was doing? So according to MCU fans, BVS is such a bad film. But their leader, Lord Feige, stole the idea for the movie. I want you to think about that. How bad can Snyder be when Feige is intimidated by his ideas? I want to go back to something Chris Terrio said during the marketing of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. This is what he had to say. And you all know what he said, but let's refresh our memories. This has been the most rigorous intellectual exercise I have had in my writing life for Batman vs. Superman. I really want to dig into everything, from ideas about American power to the structure of revenge tragedies to the huge canon DC Comics to Amazon mythology. If you told me the most rigorous dramaturgical and intellectual product of my life would be superhero movies, I would say you were crazy. But I do think fans deserve that. I felt I owed the fan base all of my body and soul for 2 years, because anything less wouldn't have been appreciating the opportunity I had. Chris Terrio, writer of Batman vs. Superman. It's very interesting what Terrio has to say, because when you see Batman vs. Superman, especially the Ultimate Edition, everything he says here is spot on. It is an intellectual take in what's going on in the world today. Nihilism, racism, power, American power, hatred. Lex Luthor is the racist. He hates Superman because he's an alien, because he has power that Luthor wants, by the way, and Luthor manages to gain to a point when he creates Doomsday. So the commentary there is amazing, but not the normal boring commentary of Hollywood today, like toxic masculinity and things like that. That's boring. No one's interested in that. No, only crazy feminists. But this is talking about the problems we face today and the hatred. And is this the hatred that Superman faces in BVS? And ultimately, he turns around and saves the people that hate him. That's a massive message. A message that the dim mainstream audience decided to hate instead of love. But Captain America Civil War has Spider-Man cracking jokes about the Empire Strikes Back. And that's so much better, isn't it? Of course it's not. Since the news or the rumour of Michael Keaton joining the Flashpoint movie and rumours about Batman Beyond have been coming out, I've really been thinking about this in the past week and realising that we can't trust anything that comes out of so-called access media and bloggers. Randolph, Humberto Gonzalez, and I have said I've trusted him a lot more than the others, but the truth is, you just don't know if what they're saying is true. Now, I know a lot of Grace Randolph fanboys who follow me, and I'm sorry about that. But at the end of the day, yeah, she's hit and miss. She does get things right, but she also gets things wrong. By the way, I don't think she got the scoop that she came out with about Birds of Prey was not a lie because she knew there was a diamond present. So how did she know that before she saw the movie? Basically, she got that right. They were going to do the whole sausage pick thing, and then they backed out because Walter Hamada and Jim Lee went absolutely ape about it. So that's why you never saw that. So I believed her there. I did find it funny that a director was slamming her on Twitter because Grace does trigger people, and she has triggered me in the past. Still hasn't unblocked me, by the way, but that's fine. I react to things, I react to people. I'm a passionate movie fan. It's life. It's what happens. And I do know that she's trying to unblock people. Let's see if I ever do get unblocked. Anyway, moving away from Grace. It's pretty clear to me now that we cannot trust the Keaton rumours. We can't trust the Constantine rumours. We can't trust any of the rumours. Now, Humberto himself, putting cold water on the Constantine rumours. And by the way, I want to do a little review of the Constantine movie at the final part of today's DC Daily because I saw it for the first time in two parts on Monday and Tuesday. And I've got some very interesting thoughts on that film. Right, so, yes, I think that since Zack Snyder's Justice League was announced, there's been a sea change. And I think the pandemic, COVID-19, hasn't helped things either. I think access media just don't have access anymore. They were wrong about the Snyder Cut never happening. And it's made them look weak. And when you're supposed to deliver information to the public, but you're more opinionated and quite hateful to certain, segments of the fandoms, you have a problem. Because unfortunately, once you start attacking and blocking people who are supposed to be your kind of consumer, that you're supposed to be selling to, the reason you exist for, you don't have a platform. But there's a bigger problem for access media now. They simply don't have any access. And after DC Fandom, they won't have any access because the access will be with us, the people, because we're going to know the plan, Jim Lee's plan and Walter Hamada's plan for the next 5 years. It could be a 10-year plan. I don't know that far. Nobody knows what's going to happen at this convention, by the way. Nobody. But one thing's for sure, Walter Hamada is there. Walter Hamada doesn't turn up for public events. I believe this is a strategy from Warner Media and AT&T themselves to take away the power from the blogger and access media and your big sites as well. I think for too long now, too many rumours and untruths have been leaked and made people excited, should I say. The Batgirl rumour that there was going to be a Batgirl movie. We've been waiting, 3 or 4 years for a Batgirl movie, and now there's rumours that she's going to be I forgot, is it the Roy character or whatever the character is when old Batman trains him into new Batman? Where apparently, according to Grace Randolph, Batman Beyond is actually going to be Batgirl. Interesting. Not opposed to that, by the way, not opposed to that at all. But the point is, we don't know where she's getting it from. I'm not saying she's a liar, but she's getting it from somewhere. And that source could be right or wrong. And this is the problem now. As much as I think it's really exciting to react to rumours, especially on YouTube, with you lot, my fellow fans, yeah, I think it doesn't work anymore. I think I'm at a place now where unless it's coming from the studio themselves, I don't give a shit. I will always react to it on here because it's fun to talk about Keaton potentially coming back. I think that may be the only rumour that's actually true, but we don't know what it means. And, you know, there's been a lot of, you know, assumptions and opinions about him replacing Affleck as the old DCEU Batman. Now, that could be true. That could be untrue. Again, we don't know that. We don't know what the plans are. I think from the beginning, when Zack Snyder's Justice League was announced for HBO Max, and AT&T were reacting to our tweets, and HBO Max were as well, which was fun. For me, it came from a place from them saying, we need you. We are going to work with you. And I think I started thinking to myself, yes, they're going to create a world for everyone. And then they started hinting about the multiverse. And I think this is where we find these conversations and links and rumours. There is going to be a DC live-action multiverse, which is very exciting. What that means is they can go back to movies like Constantine and say, do you know what? This wasn't a massive hit for us, but it has its fans. Keanu Reeves is one of the biggest movie stars out there, thanks to John Wick. And Chad, I can't say his second name, but he's a great director. By the way, he's rebooting Highlander. I love Highlander, and I can't wait to see what Chad does with that. Conversation for another time. But anyway, you can bring Constantine back. You can bring Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern back, even in his own movie, because the movie was a flop. Actually, it wasn't a flop. It just didn't make much of a profit. I suppose you could call that a flop. But Ryan is one of the biggest movie stars out there right now. Deadpool has really helped his star power. His other movies don't do so well. Actually, if you look at them, it's only Deadpool that makes any real money. That's interesting. But they know there's an audience for this Green Lantern as well. But, again, we're talking about the multiverse. So there can be more than one Hal Jordan and John Stewart. That's the point. But let's not forget, there's multiple characters on the Green Lantern Corps that you can focus on. Guy Gardner's a very popular character as well. And there's so many more. There's so much potential here. And I think this is my problem now. Not my problem with the studio or what's going on. My problem is with the media. They have so much little power now. And the more an entity loses power when it's been used to having power and using it in its own way, it's even had certain people, powerful people from Hollywood in their pockets, whispering in their ears, telling them what to feed and when. That's not going to happen anymore. That's why DC fandom is happening. So we know everything. That was the problem with the DCEU in its inception, because back then Warner Brothers was run by people that just didn't have a clue. One thing Feige did get right was the way information should be structured. He's on that stage and he's going, we're going to do this and we're going to link this up and this person's crossing over with this one, right? He knew how to play the crowd. And when the DCEU first started, nobody knew how to play the crowd. Although Snyder was very good at Comic-Cons. The announcement of BVS, right? Do you remember how they quoted the actual comic, right? And that was amazing and exciting. But we didn't carry on because the film, in mainstream terms and in critical terms, didn't get good feedback, right? So they couldn't continue doing that. But now there's a new company running Warner Brothers, and they understand how you play to the crowd. And it's important you play to the crowd, you don't play the crowd. You tell them the truth, but you hype things up. You tell them what's going to happen. And this is what's going to happen here. You know, you're going to see a very different... I mean, I think on Friday week, is it, that we're getting Justice Con? Zack will be there. Ray Fisher will be there. It's all very exciting. You will get Zack being Zack there, comfortable with the fans. But when he's at the Fandome, he's there in an official capacity as an official Warner Brothers DC Comics creative. So it's going to be different, but the hype engine will be really, really big at DC Fandom. And this is the whole point. They want to take the power away from the entertainment media because Hollywood and the government refuse to regulate this entity. And I've been talking about this for the past couple of days. Literally anyone can say anything and turn it into news or a rumour and say take it with a pinch of salt. This has always been the problem with movie journalism and rumours. Now, a lot of the stuff actually that comes out most of the time is true. Probably about 25% is fake. But you'll be surprised some of the stuff that Doomcock says, you know, on his videos. Now, I'm not a fan of the Fandom Menace. Doomcock does make me laugh. He is funny when he says he's going to be the next ruler of the world and stuff. I don't take the guy seriously. But some of the stuff he does say has elements in it. Obviously, some of it is just pure rumour and, you know, clickbait. And I get that. But we are seeing the water change from a dark blue to a bright blue. What's happening is Warner Media is now run by a company that wants to embrace the public because that's how they've always done business. That's why DC Fandom's there. That's why the tagline of DC Fandom is, we have the best fans in the world. It's about embracing us. It's about making us feel as important and as valid as the people making this stuff. And it's an amazing turn of events. And it kills, in one foul swoop, Access Media in terms of DC. Now, that's very, very important because they make a lot of money and clicks from DC, more than they do from the MCU. There's more excitement. It's as simple as that. And that is undeniable. They're going to lose that. All they're going to be able to do is report on the rest of the movie industry and create fake rumours. And the truth is, these days, it's all about capes. And if you don't have access to the capes, you don't have access to anything. Yes, I do want to do this little Constantine review because Constantine was a film that was released globally in 2005 starring Keanu Reeves. Now, back then, I didn't even know that Constantine was a DC character. Of course, he's always been on the Vertigo comics, DC Vertigo, which Neil Gaiman's been very heavily involved with characters like Sandman. Constantine's a brilliant character. Now, my first introduction to Constantine was, of course, the NBC one-season TV show starring Matt Ryan. And I was so invigorated by this character and Matt's performance. It's so good. And I started reading some of the Vertigo comics, and it's amazing. And some of the history he has with Zatanna as well. It's amazing. It's a great untapped DC kind of universe, if you like. So I enjoyed that series, and I have enjoyed seeing him in Legends of Tomorrow, but it is limiting for the character and the actor. But he does deserve his own platform. So if we go to the Constantine movie starring Keanu Reeves and directed by a man, I think it's a him, called Francis. I forgot his surname. But I did find out it was his debut movie, which is very interesting because as we get into this review, one thing you can say with 100% certainty is that Constantine is a beautifully directed movie, and the VFX looks like it was just done yesterday. So good. You really do get this amazing opening sequence with Reeves' Constantine having to deal with a possessed girl, and you can literally see the entity in her stomach, and he punches the entity, right? And it's a pretty cool sequence. I would say the first half of this movie is better than the second. I liked the movie, by the way. And let me explain to you why. I think the elements for Constantine, especially the lung cancer, are really, really good and well done in the first part. Also, Rachel Weisz, who is a brilliant actor, by the way. She's great casting. They set her up as this cop. She has a twin sister who seems to have dove out of a window, right, and died. Or she dives into that swimming pool, right, and she dies. But obviously Rachel is also playing her twin sister. They look exactly the same, and she's determined her sister never killed herself. And then in comes Constantine. So I like the dynamic between them in the first part of the film, and I think the film becomes a little bit of a problem for me in the second part, because all of a sudden they've changed the dynamic. They're trying to hint a bit of romance here, because this is what they used to do in the early noughties. They didn't really know how to deal with females acting with a male lead. I don't know why. They're dumb. It's obviously their backwards, old-fashioned mind. So in the end, you don't see her sleep with Constantine, and they don't even kiss, which I think is awesome, by the way, because I hate love interests. I hate characters being just stripped down as love interests. It bores me. And that was one of my concerns as I was watching this film. So I think it's a really, really good film. But part of the problem is you don't really have much of a villain in it. Tilda Swinton is revealed. We see Gabriel in the first part of the film. We don't know what her motivations are, but she's basically the person who's been doing all of this, right? So Tilda Swinton plays Gabriel, and she's revealed as the villain. It's not particularly that interesting of a twist or a reveal, but of course Tilda Swinton is brilliant. And by the way, how do you choose Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor over Tilda Swinton? Again, a conversation for another time. Something tells me Tilda wouldn't have accepted the direction Chibnall would have gone in anyway. But let's get back to the DC, and let's get back to Constantine. So yes, the second half of the movie, for me, and I mean, this is one of the things that does disappoint me in the final act, is that Rachel Weisz's character is knocked out for the whole final act, because they set her up beautifully in the first part of the film, but in the second part of the film, she barely has nothing to do apart from trying to keep up with Constantine and trying to prove to us, the audience, that she's intelligent and she's strong, but she just comes across utterly smug. And she's really quite likeable in the first part of the film, and I think that's a shame. So I think the film succeeds in the first part of the film, and it fails a little bit in the second part of the film, which is a shame. But in terms of the way it's directed and visually, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. Now, let's look at Keanu Reeves' performance. Keanu Reeves, I think it's interesting that Chad has found a way to get something out of Keanu that no other actor, that no other director has ever done. He seems to have more of a personality. His style works with John Wick. But in terms of Constantine, you've got to have a little bit of je ne sais quoi. You've got to have the personality. And quite frankly, Keanu Reeves simply doesn't portray the personality in the vigour of Constantine. He does play him in a way. You do believe he's been doing this for a long time, that he's had this curse since he was a child. It is a really, really good performance. But I think going back to Dick Donner casting Christopher Reeve, and Bryan Singer casting Brandon Routh, and Zack Snyder casting Henry Cavill, three unknowns, as Superman, it justifies it to me, because basically Keanu was a film star even back then. And they wanted to give Keanu a vehicle. But the point is, comic book characters are the vehicle. You don't need big film stars playing them, because they are the film stars. And this is what the problem is. Keanu Reeves isn't Constantine. And that's where the problem really lies. Not because he isn't a good actor, not because he doesn't do a good job, because you see Keanu Reeves and you don't see Constantine. So you don't really get Constantine in the movie, and you get something else. I think the people who made this film probably do enjoy the Constantine character in the Vertigo comics, which I do as well, by the way. But I do think it's a highly enjoyable movie that has a lot of energy. And if you haven't seen it, it's a very old movie, by the way, 2005. What you're talking about, that's quite old, but it's brilliant. The sound quality isn't really good, by the way, but the rest of it is. It's a really good, enjoyable film. Now, if you're asking me would I like to see Keanu return as the character in a sequel, I would like that. I think Keanu is so popular right now, it will be a really, really exciting thing to see. But what do you think of Constantine? What do you think of Access Media? Are they losing their powers? Are they losing their abilities? And are you excited to see the Amazon Olympic Games in Wonder Woman 1984? I can guarantee you it's something you won't want to miss. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DC Daily. See you again soon.